Hey, what's up, everybody? Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be talking to you about a recent experience that I had of getting laid off. And I just wanted to share my experience with you guys. And hopefully we can help one another navigate through this situation, because from what I can see and the research I've been doing online, it's not just here in South Africa where people are going through a whole lot of layoffs and retrenchments and that kind of thing. It's actually currently a worldwide phenomenon. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. This is quite possibly the most humbling moment of my life. So on a random Tuesday afternoon/evening, my boss called me into her office, which was a surprise to begin with, because I usually worked the late shift from about 2 o'clock in the afternoon to around 11 o'clock in the evening. And she was still there at around 7:30 in the evening. And she called me into her office. I obviously naturally freaked out. Like, why am I being called in? What's going on? She reassured me and said, "Don't worry, you're not in trouble." To which I kind of scoffed and laughed it off and said, "Okay, cool, whatever." Followed her into the office. She continues, "But it's not good." So I was caught between two minds, kind of, not knowing what was coming next. And she sat me down and then she broke the news to me and she said, "Hey, after some long, careful consideration, I've taken the regrettable decision to close the company down." In that moment, my entire world came crashing down. I'd like to think I didn't react emotionally. Well, I didn't say anything, but I just kind of struggled to gulp and breathe because what else can you do? The decision had already been taken, and I guess I was just being informed of what's about to go down. And I guess that was the forewarning of buckle up, put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. She goes on to tell me the reasons for why we were being laid off, and she said that it was for operational reasons. Now, I understand that in other parts of the world, particularly in America, you can get fired on the same day without necessarily going through a whole long retrenchment procedure. But here it's a little bit different in South Africa. So she sat me down and pretty much handed me what we call a Section 189 notice, which is pretty much a notice of a meeting that's going to take place in a couple of weeks or whenever's time, where the nitty-gritties of your retrenchment are going to be discussed with the entire workforce. And the idea behind that is, if the employees can negotiate maybe taking lesser pay, maybe having suggestions for the employer to try something else. And essentially it's a last-ditch effort to ensure that retrenchments are the last option that the company ought to take. Well, in my case, or in the case of the company that I worked for, the writing was on the wall. It was pretty clear that, the company was in decline because, well, for context, I used to work in the logistics and courier industry. In April last year, when the South African government increased taxes on purchases made on Shein and Temu, that obviously had a ripple effect throughout the economy. And at that point, the volumes of packages and parcels that were being delivered around were significantly lower. To say I was bummed would be an understatement. Funnily enough, I'd seen the writing on the wall, and I'd even expressed some concerns to a couple of my colleagues throughout the remainder of 2024. And I'd say to them, "Hey guys, it's not looking good. I don't know if you guys realize this, but have you noticed that the volumes are so much less? How is this sustainable? What's, going to become of our future?" When something like that gets brought to your attention, I guess you don't respond immediately to it and jump up and fix your resume and do whatever, because, well, operationally, things are relatively still the same. The numbers are just a little bit less, but you kind of get used to it. Anyway, towards the end of last year, I'd taken the decision that, I'm going to start looking for work. I'm going to start upskilling myself. I'm going to start learning new things. And I went onto YouTube and I started researching different available opportunities that I could explore. And I'd come across, an IT certification from Google, which was part of my goals and ambitions for 2025. Needless to say, those goals and studying that requires money. And obviously now I'm unemployed. So don't worry, I'm not going to beg for money. I'm just trying to paint the picture of how when you're busy making plans, life just has no qualms with shafting you up the backside and blindsiding you from left field, out of nowhere. My plan was sweet. I was in the implementation phase of it. I was in month 2. Here I am busy studying Google IT support professional certification. I had plans to, once I'm finished with that, do my CompTIA A+. When I'm finished with that, I was going to do my CompTIA N+, and then just like wreak havoc on LinkedIn, Indeed, PNet, and every other job board, looking for possible opportunities to explore for obviously better pay and an increase in quality of life and standard of living. Well, needless to say, none of that's going to be happening now. And I've taken the past 6 weeks or whatever to introspect, plan, strategize, and redirect. And yeah, the road and the journey that lies ahead is pretty daunting. It's pretty scary. We hear all the time of layoffs, mass layoffs. Recently here in South Africa, the steel workers, like 3,500 of them got laid off in one go. If I'm not mistaken, 3,500 or 7,000 of them, I'm not sure. It's a really large number. You hear about, tech bros in the US getting laid off quite frequently, actually. And yeah, you seldom put yourself in the position when you hear these things as headlines of what these people go through. And I've finally gone through it myself, and it's one of the scariest things, because after my boss told me about the layoffs that night, before she sent me back to my desk to carry on with my work, she was like, yo, please don't tell anybody about this, because I expect our conversation to be in extreme confidence, and let's keep this between ourselves. I'm going to let the rest of the workforce know tomorrow morning. Now, can you imagine sitting there carrying on with your work, and all of these things start racing through your mind? I distinctly remember one of the things that had crossed my mind at that point was, well, how am I going to pay for stuff? How am I going to pay for my phone, pay for internet, pay for my car, pay for living expenses, pay for entertainment? All of these things just fell on me like a ton of bricks as I was working. And needless to say, I was unable to concentrate for like maybe an hour and a half. And I called my nephew, who worked at the same company as me, and I gave him a heads up. Yo, bro, listen, here's what's going to go down tomorrow morning when you arrive at work. And he was super chill about it. He was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, it makes sense. And he was like, okay, cool. Well, come what may, we're still going to keep drawing breath on this earth. So we got to keep on keeping on. Yeah, different reactions from different people to different things, and well, to the same thing. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's no formula to this life thing. As a millennial, I remember being told, go to school, get good grades, go to university, college, whatever you want to call it, get yourself a degree, and the world's your oyster. That will be your guaranteed way of making it in this life. I realized that no one's going to come out and overtly tell us that, yeah, that's in the past, hey. Rip all of that up and throw it in the bin, because that way of doing things largely doesn't work anymore. There's so many unemployed graduates, particularly here in South Africa. In other parts of the world, you'll get overqualified barristers with bachelor's and master's degrees busy pouring coffee at Starbucks. It's crazy. And I think the social compact has been broken. And we as young people, already, I'm not a young person anymore. Damn it, I'm in my mid-30s. But as a young at heart person, I think we've got to address this issue on a global scale. Like, what is happening? The majority of us can't afford to buy a home. Cars have become ridiculously expensive. Again, I feel sorry for the Americans, actually, and also the Europeans, because you guys can't import cheap Chinese vehicles, which is quite literally what has become the backbone of our motoring industry here in South Africa, and I guess, broader Africa as well. Life has just changed so much, and there's no blueprint to this. There's no reader's manual. There's no, if you do A, B, and C, you can expect X, Y, and Z. It's no wonder things like the dating market has been turned on its head, because nobody can afford to have a significant other. Like quite literally right now, unemployed, the last thing on my mind is somebody's daughter telling me that a coffee date is not good enough. And you know what? And that's no jab at whoever's daughter that might be applicable to. It's just a realization of the current set of circumstances being faced. And I'll be honest, not everyone is faced with that. So if you're not, good on you, bro. Plow, sow your seed. Yeah, man, we'll live vicariously through you. But yeah, it's an actual nightmare out here, and I just want this message to reach whoever's in a similar situation or who has been let go in the past, to know that, yeah, bro, you're not alone. Dude, you're not alone. Wherever you are, we all going through it. I think we overcome this challenge if we all come together and realize that if a dude in buttfuck nobody gives a damn Africa is going through something similar as somebody in, Canada, or somebody in New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom. I mean, my newsfeed and my homepage on YouTube is just an endless stream of, I suppose I taught the algorithm this, but it's an endless stream of people from different parts of the world that haven't clicked and come together and been like, yo, it's happening everywhere. So there's something collectively wrong here. The system is breaking down in real time, and we've got to do something to not only save ourselves, but potentially the future of humanity. As I say that, it sounds so dramatic and unnecessary, but yeah, the future's looking bleak, guys. And I don't know. This should be a wake-up call to anybody who's listening to this message. My country right now has the worst unemployment statistic on planet Earth. And we also are the most unequal society to boot. So if we're the canary in the coal mine, what's down the pike, God be with us.